Welcome back to Blood Bowl 2. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Jay.
Today we're going to talk about some Necro teams. Okay, first up we have our Necro standard team. Group photo, and let's go to the roster.
All right, the Necros, a lot like the Undead team with a few bonuses going on here. We got our Necromancer. As usual with any Undead team, you're going to want your Necromancer. 3 fan factor for flavor and to burn up some of our extra points. You could spread that out across your assistant coaches if you choose. We typically go with fan factor because this is the only time you can pick it up. 2 team rerolls, and starting over with our roster here at the top and foremost is our werewolves. This is going to be the bread and butter of your team with 8 movement. That's huge, and 3 strength, 3 agility, 8 armor. Pretty strong across the board. And these come equipped with some nasty claws, frenzy, and regeneration. If you pick up block and dodge on these guys, maybe even mighty blow, they're going to be unstoppable. That's one of the stronger points of this team.
Yeah, they're definitely a focal point on this team and an extremely strong unit if you can keep them healthy.
Followed up by the Flesh Golem. I personally am not a huge fan of the Flesh Golem. Everybody likes their Frankenstein monsters out here and stuff. With access to the strength tree, they can get a little strong later on, but they're only coming with thick skull and stand firm. So, for 110k, they're not super great. They got 9 armors, basically no agility, a little higher strength. They're closer to your Chaos Warriors, but not great. But we are taking one with us.
Yeah, this is a standard team, so we want to use all of the units. But yeah, this is definitely one of the least used units, that for me at least.
We got our whites. Again, pretty fast. Not as fast as your werewolves. Decent strength, decent agility, 8 armor value with block and regeneration. These guys here can, if you get some decent pass rolls on them, you can turn these into some pretty nasty quarterbacks as the game goes on. Or you can keep them on the line and push up with your werewolves and really go back and forth with those first 5 units there and really hold your line down and use our next unit that we're about to talk about, which is the ghoul, as your front runners. Your werewolves can get out there and stuff, grab balls and things like that, but when it comes to really maneuvering down the field, you're wanting to leave that up to your ghouls. They got 7 movement, 3 strength, 3 agility, 7 armor. They come with dodge standard, and with the access to the agility trees, you can pick up some things such as there's a lot of good
you
things
can do
out
a lot
there.
of crazy stuff, sidestep, and all these different things.
Right.
For me, like you were saying, the werewolves, they are extremely aggressive and have that large movement speed. So what I like to do is run them as if they're linebackers. You know what I mean? You can have the flesh golem and the whites kind of play that solid line defense. You don't want to put them up against like a Croxagore or Treeman or anybody that's really going to bash them. But they can stop some average players when they're coming through. Those werewolves going to hold the corners down, and then all they got to do is drop that ball into the field one time, and those little ghouls are going to be there to pick it up and run it in.
Yeah, especially when you get them out there, treat them like a blitzer and chase down your opponent, knock them down with that frenzy, follow up, claws. Good chance you're going to get a player off the field.
Yep.
And for holding out the rest of our line, we got some zombies out here. Not great, but pretty decent chaff, especially considering they can come back if they get killed. Most of this team, aside from the Flesh Golem, has the opportunity to come back as a zombie, thanks to our Necromancer over there. So, there's a little bit of rigidity to this team. So in case you do lose some players, you're not 100% out.
Yeah, the only thing is the main difference between the undead and the necro are these guys can only have access to zombies. They can't have any skeletons, which we talked about in a previous video. That skeletons we favor a little bit more than the zombies, but you do have access to these werewolves in the flesh golem. So,
which the werewolves alone is reason enough to pick the necromantics possibly over undead.
Right.
Both really strong teams. Just depends on what kind of plays you're wanting to make.
Yeah, and if one of your werewolves die at 120k, you're gonna feel that.
You're gonna feel it, yeah.
Second team we're going to look at is the Necro Agility team, or what they can consider agility team. There's a
Yeah.
fan photo,
There's
and
only gonna be a slight difference between our agile team and our bashy team. Like the point cost is right around the same. Here we're picking up. We got 3 rerolls and 3 fan factor. The necromancer. We're sitting at 2 ghouls, 2 wights, 2 werewolves, and the rest are zombies. This is about as agile as this team gets, which is pretty agile. Like you got your werewolves and your ghouls who can really make some long plays. And again, I think the wights fall into that quarterback, that blocky quarterback that can really do it all. If you can just get some decent rolls on your star player points, just keep them up front, try to get a couple decent blocks in until the late game.
yeah, the whites definitely are the Swiss Army knife of this team. They can go in varied directions depending on what you need them to do. But yeah, the ghouls are scoring all your points, and the werewolves are holding it down. So pretty simple for an agile team. And the next team we're going to take a look at is a Bashy team for the Necros. Got our fan
Uh,
photo and the team roster.
like we were saying previously, there's only a slight difference between the two teams. This one's a little bit more expensive. That's why we only have 2 rerolls and 2 fan factors. So that's quite a bit of a point sink with these flesh golems and these werewolves up here. Running 2 flesh golems. If you're running bashy, you're gonna want them. They don't move very fast. They do have 4 strength, so they're gonna be able to put some hurt on a lot of players out there. Again, not my favorite unit. They're kind of your mid ground between a big guy and an average player. You know, they fill a role, but I prefer 2 more werewolves if I had the option. And werewolves again doing the job of most of the bashing and blitzing as we can down to our wights, which hopefully they can pick up some passing and maybe even sure hands. You can do a lot with these. Just depends on where your points and how your rolls come up. And
So the way I would run this, your flesh golems, they're not going to freaking leave the line. Maybe put them with 2 or 3 of these zombies, and that'll be your line. Your werewolves are going to go after whatever, and so are your wights. So how I would run it is run 2 defensive wights and a werewolf, and have 1 scoring werewolf, or do the exact opposite: 2 defensive werewolves since they have claws, and 1 defensive wight, and then have your 1 all-star wight. Simply because we said earlier they're universal. They have a lot of utility to them.
right, and that's a lot. A lot that's going to dictate on early star player points and how you roll overall.
Yeah, you really, this is, like we said before, previous videos, this is a defensive team. It's not, you're not going to go score for score with an elven team.
Yeah, or even a human team.
You're gonna lose that one. I'm gonna let you know right now. If you think you're just gonna run 5 points past, an agile team like that, it ain't gonna be the one. All right, the last team we're gonna look at today is our snowball team for the Necros. Got our team photo here, and let's look at this roster.
All right, like any snowball team that we build, we're again got our fan factor. This is a team that we're building that hopefully everybody loves, and you can tweak it the way you want to or not. But this is how we build it. We got 4 rerolls, 2 assistant coaches, 1 cheerleader, and necromancer. Pretty decent, line up there on the side of on the bench. But when you actually take a look at the team here, we're sitting at 2 ghouls, 2 wights, and the rest are zombies. What's nice about this team here, and one of the reasons we didn't pick up any extra players, is the entire team is sitting under 3 strength, which means that if they die, there's a good chance they're coming back as a zombie. So we just hold down the front line best we can with our wights and zombies, and hopefully these wights get a few star player points early game, and then use the ghouls to run the ball and pick up the ball and make our big plays with them.
Yeah, there really isn't too much to say. Like I said, these are one of the teams, the Necros, that do better on the first 3 teams that we built, as opposed to a snowball team. Snowball teams are generally for lizards or the Skaven or something like that you can build up. They have a lot of expendable players. This is, you can do the same thing here. It's just having a zombie as an all-star isn't really going to be
Right.
something you're going to see that often. So you can still run a pretty decent offense with these first 4 players. but just don't get attached to the whole rest of your team.
Right. Or even attached to your ghouls, because I've lost more ghouls
Oh yeah.
to going for it rolls than anything.
I don't know what the ghouls are feeding each other, you know, in their academy or what have you, but they need to drink some milk, man. They fall out pretty quick. Hey guys, as always, thank you for watching. Make sure to check out some of our other videos and subscribe to the channel.